Good. Now, I'm Stefan Simenon. Engineering. It's a global insurance company with business in UK, US, Netherlands, and Spain. And I'm going to elaborate about the challenges of a DevSecOps implementation with large and big companies, large, big, complex companies. So as a start, DevSecOps, what is it about? Now we have been looking on the internet, we have seen lots of definitions about DevSecOps, but what it's all about is that security is integrated at an early stage of each and every life cycle, software development life cycle. Important is to know that the goal is to reduce risk at an early stage, and what is also important is that security responsibility is shared within teams. So it's not a security responsibility, it's not an engineering responsibility, it's a shared responsibility. And it's a critical component in a multi-cloud security strategy. Now, everybody knows this table, of course, this diagram, this picture. So, ideally you should start with your security assessments, with your threat modeling at the planning phase of a project or an activity. It's not often happening in large organizations, but it's an important piece to start with threat modeling at an early stage. Once you make code, once you build code, you have all kinds of scanning activities. You have software composition analysis, you have SOST, you have infra as code security, you have container security. That's an important piece, and you see more and more companies are adapting it. DAST, unit test phase, is a very common security piece of work. Then when you deploy access and configuration management, pen testing is becoming applicable. In operations, it's all about log collection, RASP, patch management, application firewalls, and monitoring is about security information event management and vulnerability monitoring. So in large companies, they focus a lot on monitoring and operations. The process with SOC, they have often lots of priority. And in this presentation, I'm going to focus upon the build and code phase. So, why is it important? It's very important in large companies to stress the importance of it. There is mainly two reasons why it is important. Now, the first reason is preventing hacks, preventing that customer data is made available to the public, and important examples are Equifax. I forget about the company, but there is many companies which are hacked because of lacking source code scanning. And another important item, and that is getting more and more important, is the regulations. So more and more regulations are popping up, both in US, both in Europe, about holding management liable in case there is issues with security. And the National Cybersecurity Strategy, application scanning as one is explicitly mentioned, but also the NIST2 directive, application security is also becoming an important piece. So if you need to convince your business or your management that why it's important, focus upon getting hacked, the risk of being hacked, but also focus upon the regulations, the wet and regelgeving, as we call it in Dutch. So what are implementation challenges in big companies? So business priority is one, and later I'm going to elaborate what you can do against it, or what you should do against it. Governance is a second important one. Automation is important. What you see that companies are focusing on technology only. They underestimate or they don't think of the culture, the way of working, and something which is also often underestimated is knowledge of developers, but also knowledge of business and management. So starting with the first one, business priority, what you can and should do about it. Now, first of all, you should go back to the business objectives. You should check what are the business objectives of the company, and once you have the business objectives, you should check the security items related to it. So you should map your security way forward with the business objectives. What you also can and should do, if you cannot convince your management, to do a risk assessment. Make visible what kind of risks do exist, and also make visible what the impact of those risks is. And ask the management to accept risk if they do not have budget, or if they don't have priority to set up a security program. What is also important is that if you need to convince the business, explain it to them in a language which is understandable. And do not explain about SQL injection, technical language, or lots of technical language, but focus upon the functional impact of a hack, or focus upon the functional impact if a compliance is not met. So make sure you express the impact in language that is understandable for business. And also, I have seen companies who are asking for business cases for return on investment. But the problem with these kind of programs is that you can make the cost very well visible, but the benefits, the reduced risk, the increased time to market, those benefits, it's very hard to make them tangible. So there is market research. If you Google on the internet, there is market research, and that market research shows what is the average cost of a breach, or what savings do companies have if they focus on AI or what kind of security programs. So those kind of data, and there are managers, senior management, who like data. Those kind of market research can be used to convince management. So the second piece is governance. Now, governance is a big thing in large, complex organizations. It's not only a big thing for security, but for each and every topic. But if you need to run a security program, there is 6 elements crucial. So the first one is senior management commitment. So make sure that your CEO, CTO supports the program. There is budget needed for the program. There is risk assessment. There is risk acceptance mitigation needed for certain things. Things cost money. They have business priorities. Choices need to be made. And it's very important that senior management supports the program and is on the right moment involved in all kinds of decision making. And the second piece is clear roles and responsibilities. So application security is a difficult piece. So it's, the infrastructure teams, they often don't have, they focus very much on infrastructure security. The CISO teams, they also don't have always knowledge of application security. So the most knowledge in organizations is within engineering departments, the departments that actually develop and maintain code. But those departments, they often do not have focus on security. Those people want to build new things. They want to release new functionalities. So it's very important to make clear who's responsible for the program, who's responsible for the tools, who's responsible for decision making. It's often lacking in large companies. The third topic is tooling maintenance. So what you see sometimes is that the tool is bought, the tool is implemented, and then nothing is happening. I have seen companies who bought a tool, who implemented the tool, but they didn't do upgrades, they didn't do patching, and if you don't do that, if you don't release updates, then the tool itself becomes less functional over time. And it's very logical that these kind of things should be arranged, but very often you see that it's not happening. Close alignment between DevOps, and business. So the word DevSecOps already mentions it. I also have included the business. So some people also call it DevBizSecOps or DevOps BizSec. But why is business important? if there is scanning needs to be done or security issues need to be fixed, it often needs to be prioritized in DevOps or Agile teams. So, and the product owners, they are often from the business. So the business needs to be aware about the risks. They need to be aware on the issues that need to be fixed. And there is critical issues which take 1 minute to fix, but there's also issues which take weeks or months to fix, and there is even issues which require a whole refactoring or a new build of applications. And then it's very important to align with the business and to include them in the decision making and in discussing the way forward. Partnership with tooling supplier, why is this important? These suppliers, they have lots of experience, they have lots of knowledge, and they can bring in best practices or learnings from other organizations or from market developments. So make sure that if you buy a tool, that you also set up the right partnership with the supplier. They should not only sell licenses to you, but they also should be helping you in the way forward, and they should be coming with recommendations and best practices. Very important piece. And the last one is alignment with enterprise architecture. So there should be enterprise architecture and the security setup, the tooling setup, the way forward. It should be aligned with not only with your business objectives, but also with your enterprise architecture. So those are 6 pieces which are very important. So sometimes you see that the pieces are not yet well established, or only part of the pieces are established. But as I said, this is crucial. The third topic is about automation. Now, why is this important? First of all, fixing security issues takes time. The business, they want to focus on implementing new releases. And if things are not automated, if there's manual actions or time-consuming actions, risk mitigation will take time to get less priority. And also, if you don't automate things, then you will have error-prone process, and the risk on failing security mitigations is increasing. So make sure you implement your scanning in pipelines. If you have false positives, each tool will have false positives. The one tool has less false positives than the other tool, but make sure there is workflow management for false positives and exception handling. Make sure that a developer cannot check his own exception or false positive. And normally there should be a separate security department who will check exceptions or false positives, and that process should be automated. But what is also often time consuming is if a new application needs to be scanned, there is manual onboarding required. Those kind of things can and should be automated. Management dashboards, issue assignment and follow-up. So integrations with tools like ServiceNow or Splunk, all these kind of things can and should be automated. And there is more things which can and should be automated than I've mentioned here. But the teams, they should have continuous time and focus on automation. Because the more it's automated, the less time it costs to fix issues, the more buy-in you will have from the business, but also the more issues you can fix, or the more time you can spend on business functionality. So automation is something which is crucial in a DevSecOps journey. Knowledge, always very underestimated. It has already been mentioned in few presentations today. What you often see is that developers, they have lots of software development knowledge. They don't always have knowledge of security. What you see in large organizations, that 20% of the developers are senior, they're very good. Another 20% is learning and having the right mindset. But there's also a large group which is very junior, which does not have the right mindset, and needs to learn and needs to improve a lot. And even senior people, I've even seen senior developers who are very good in programming, but they did not find security important. So you need to work upon the mindset. They need to understand why security is important. They need to understand why how things need to be fixed. There is tools, of course, who have learning programs and who have inbuilt functionality how to fix and prevent things. But learning, security champion program, also meet up at hackathons, send them to conferences, webinars, make sure they have time available in sprints, or that they have time available to fix or to spend time on vulnerability remediation. This is very often underestimated and not well arranged in companies, but it's a crucial item. Focus on technology only. Now, I see a lot of suppliers here, a lot of suppliers who have tools for scanning, and the one tool is better than the other tool, and the one tool has more functions than the others, but do not focus on technology only. What you see is that if a company is starting up a program, they do an RFP, there is market research, they spend lots of time on selecting the right tool or on proof of concepting a right tool, and then negotiation about pricing and contract processing. So sometimes it takes a year or even more than a year to get a tool or to implement a tool. And even though companies who are already discussing for 2 years about a tool or about a certain technology, but it is important but there is more than only technology. So once a tool is selected, then it should be implemented in a pipeline with Jenkins or Azure DevSecOps as a continuous integration tool. The quality checks, the security scanning should be automated. And you can, and maybe you should build in build breakers. So once there is security issues or severe security issues, the tool should be blocking the build, and the developer should be enforced to fix the issue before a deployable artifact can be released. So this is technology that should be implemented. But if you move forward, then you also should focus upon the cultural aspects. You should focus upon the way of working. You should make sure that business understands it, that they prioritize things. You should make sure that developers have the right knowledge. So there is DevSecOps assessments in place, and so also tooling suppliers, they can help with these kind of things, and you can do a self-assessment, and based on the self-assessment, you can the company can see where to focus upon, and also these kind of things can be used to management to convince them that on certain topics, that certain topics should have focus. So, for example, culture is an important thing. So, if you are very mature, then you have context-driven decisions, and executives are heavily involved. If you are immature, then you are surprised. Then you have lots of pushback within the organization. Skills. Make sure that is part of your job description. Make sure that there is continuous learning. But you also see companies who don't focus at all. Make sure you have program objectives. Make sure you have company objectives, and measure those objectives. And that is also an important item that should be used in assessment. And also priority. So in an immature company, there is no or less priority on security. And in a mature company, you want to stay ahead of threats. And then you have also threat modeling and those kind of activities implemented. So my advice would be also do a DevSecOps assessment and share and discuss the results with the management, with the decision makers. So when, and I think this was also mentioned in one of the earlier presentations. So once a company is starting with an application security program or a DevSecOps implementation, it's a big journey. It's a continuous improvement journey. It's not a one-time project with fixed milestones and fixed dates. So you need to start small. You need to learn. You need to set up an initial pipeline that is continuously enhanced and automated. So typically you start with an MVP CI pipeline. You start with 1 to 5 teams using it. They will have feedback. You need to learn. And as somebody mentioned, you will have setbacks in the program. So sometimes you need to step one step back in order to step three steps forward. So typically typically you start small with 1 to 5 teams, and then once you get more experience, once you have mature pipeline in place, once you have a learning program in place, then you can scale up to 5 or 20 programs. And in the meantime, you should make your setup and your technology and your way of working scalable. And once you are scalable, then you can onboard more and more teams. So it's also a risk that once you start a program, that teams might be interested. So many teams will be interested to join such kind of program. But if you onboard too many teams at an early stage, then you have a risk on failures and a risk on management buy-in. So make sure that you scale the right way, and make sure that you do it in steps, and make sure you also convince and discuss this with your senior management to establish the right management expectation. And also here, with an adoption strategy, a tooling supplier should be able to help you, because they have experience with these kind of things, and there's even suppliers who have programs available for helping you in adopting DevSecOps implementation. So, what I also would advise, since there is a lot of focus on cultural and non-technology implementations, at ABN Bank we have set up, and together with Dominique is here by the way, we have set up a secure coding team, and that secure coding team was focusing upon the trainings. They were organizing hackathons, meetups, they were really focusing upon creating the right mindset for teams. So in the past, the traditional way of working, also there were contracts with suppliers, and they had a risk on a penalty if they would fail a certain milestone. But at some point of time, we moved away from it, and we started rewarding teams who gave the right example, who made the right progress. So those kind of things should be organized, and you should have an AppSec or a secure coding team or a team in the organization in place who organizes these kind of activities. But if you organize it the right way, then you also see that developers and stakeholders are getting more committed. There is also creating a fun element out of it. So awards, sending a team to dinner, or give them something nicer to get and make them motivated. It's very important to have such kind of program in place. Reporting and follow-up. So once you have scanning in place, once you have the pipelines in place, you also should make sure that certain aspects have the right priority. And one element of it is reporting. There should be reporting in place, and many suppliers have out-of-the-box connections and integrations with reporting tools, Splunk, ServiceNow, whatever tool. But make sure the right management reporting is in place. Make sure that per report is in place. What is the score on the highest level? Make sure you aggregate it to business unit, to department, to team. So that you can focus, that you can see which team is doing fine, which team needs improvement. And that also on a management level, you can see where are the most critical vulnerabilities, and where to focus on. And then also make sure that you steer it the right way. So many times you get some report, then if you score above 95%, you're green, and between 90 and 95, you're yellow, and below 90, you are green. And so this is a wrong way of managing it, because you should focus on the vulnerabilities and the issues which have the most risk. So therefore you have an exploit prediction scoring system, and I see that suppliers also have their own methodology sometimes to indicate which vulnerability has more impact than another one. So once you have the reporting in place, make sure you focus upon the issues having the most impact, and do not make the mistake to focus on numbers only, or to do spreadsheet management, as people call it. So summary, what is important, what is a must-do, senior management commitment involvement, clarify roles and responsibilities, keep on automating on a continuous basis. And what you should not do, do not focus on tooling only. It is important, but there are things which are much more important. Do not underestimate the journey and the complexity. It was also mentioned in some other presentations. This is something which takes years and never ends. It's a continuous improvement journey. It never ends. And do not treat this as a one-time project. This was my presentation.
Stefan. Are there any questions for Stefan?
Okay, thanks. My question is, what frameworks out there, what resources do you find useful to use while applying your own framework?
Stefan, can you repeat the question?
The question is what resources you find useful to implement such kind of journey. That is the question, if you understand well. Now, first of all, you need to have the right tools, the right CSD tools. That is important, as I mentioned. So tooling is important. It is important that you have a right reporting way forward. So in my current company, ServiceNow is used as a standard reporting tool, but Splunk and other tools also can be used.
I mean knowledge resources.
Oh, knowledge resources. Oh, okay. You mean knowledge resources? Yeah. So there is lots of security trainings available. There is even companies who offer security training. And maybe you should have a chat with Dominique.
I mean knowledge resources for you.
For me, knowledge resources for me. But what do you mean with knowledge resources?
You implement your framework.
Yes.
But you need to know what you're doing. So where are you getting your knowledge as an organization?
Yeah, I get that by talking at this kind of conferences and talking with experts. It's that is not. I'm not aware of a framework which an organization can use for implementing this kind of things.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Somehow it sounds like it's very agile. I mean, DevSecOps.
Yes.
When I thought, oh my gosh, they have to do even more than they are already doing.
Yes.
But then the more I thought about it in your way, it sounds very agile, as if it's just really the idea of team.
Yes.
Everything.
Yeah, so the question is, it sounds like an agile wave, like an agile program, and that is indeed the case. It does not need to be agile per se, but it is important that it's continuous improvement, that you do it in phases, that you do not handle this as a one-time project. You can do it agile, you can do it based on DevOps, you can do it based on Kanban, but it is important that this is something which is based on continuous improvement indeed. It's not a one-time project.
Question there?
Okay. Can you touch a few words about orchestration or effect?
So can you repeat the question?
Can you touch a few words regarding security testing orchestration or effect management?
So the question is, can you elaborate upon defect management and security orchestration? So with defect management, you mean implementing mitigations for security fixes. So yeah, you can do a few things. So you can build in your pipeline build breakers, quality gates, which to make sure that build fails once there's an issue. And then the developer is forced to fix the issue before the build can be finished. But also you can choose to do detective reporting as well, and then this reporting is important. So then you should have reporting in place showing the most severe issues per department or per team or per organization, and then that can be used by management to tell the IT lead of the department to focus on certain issues. But it's important that you have the right reporting in place, and it's also important that if there is a follow-up needed, that there is an automated item in ServiceNow or in Jira or whatever to be registered the task is required for a certain team or certain person. Does that answer your question?
Are there any last questions?
Thank you very much, Stefan.
Okay, thank you.